You are trading the macro markets these days. What do you make of where we are?
Listen, I think, this is easy to say. If it wasn't for the trade or the Cold War, which we're going into, markets would be significantly higher.
You said we're going into a Cold War.
It feels like it. I don't think this is just about fair trade anymore. This is about beating China. I think if you go to the core of the Trump hawks, they want to take out China. Mm-hmm. It's a very different attitude than we ever had, at least in my career. I remember literally when I was at Goldman Sachs sitting with Zhu Rongji when they were negotiating WTO, and he was saying, we're not ready to take on Goldman Sachs in China. It won't be for a while. And everyone kind of agreed with that. Like, give China a chance to catch up. Well, they had their chance, and now they've caught up, kind of. And so I think the intuitive thing for where our mindset had been would be to say, okay, let's make it fair trade. And I think the Trump hawks actually want to, like remembering Caddyshack, well, we'll just cut them at the Achilles here, and so he'll be pulling everything to the left.
So everything, everything's going off to the right.
Yeah, to the right.
You can't really follow.
So if that's right, what do you, as an investor, what do you do about it?
It's hard. I'm angry that I wasn't shorter because I saw this happening, but listen, the other side, the economy is doing okay. It's slowing a little bit. There's tons of liquidity in the system, and the Fed's on hold. And so I kind of thought we were going to have a melt-up in stocks. We still might if we can get through this, but my confidence that we're going to come to a quick conclusion in this trade war is waning quickly.
And given all the attention that you spend on crypto, do you truly believe that crypto is uncorrelated to the market?
There's not enough correlation right now because most people that own the market don't own crypto. We're starting to see the crossover as institutions get in, and I think in 4 or 5 years, talking that correlation will be much more significant. I would say there certainly feels to be Chinese money moving into the space due to this.
Chinese money into crypto?
Into crypto. Like part of this surge, why did Bitcoin go from 4,000 to 8,000? Because of Facebook, because of Microsoft, I think because of this trade war, and because a lot of the selling was done.
What about the world of regulation? This is still a completely unregulated world, it feels like.
Listen, the U.S. Has been really slow on regulation. They got scared with a bunch of hacks that have happened, and so I think the SEC turned to FINRA and said, slow it all down. And so you haven't seen security tokens here launched in the U.S. You're seeing other parts of the world go faster, and so
Does that mean that we're going to be left behind in terms of leading on this? Does that mean that there's a huge opportunity ahead because you get either a different administration in or you get something to happen and all of a sudden this opens up? Is it literally just about time?
I think it's about technology. Time. Listen, the U.S. And the regulators there, they know they're a little bit behind and they know where the world's going. And they also know where the competitive landscape is. They're just taking their time. And so I think it's taking longer than we had hoped, but it's going to end up in the right direction, or in the right destination.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about is we had Ray Dalio on, and then I think you tweeted, I don't know if it was based on the interview that we did or a comment that he had made. You said that you thought that we were having this big conversation about capitalism versus socialism and where things are. And you tweeted out this idea that you thought that Milton Friedman, maybe that whole idea had gone too far.
Completely.
And given, though, that I've always thought of you as sort of the capitalist of capitalists, I was surprised.
Oh, I'm pretty left of center. Listen, I think when Milton Friedman was writing, right, you had really high marginal tax rates. You had labor's share of income, labor's share of profits at a record high. And if Milton saw where things had gone today, I think he'd probably have a different view.
I don't think so. When you said that everything gets pulled to the left, you really meant to the left, because in the movie it's definitely to the right. Now I see why that was a true Freudian slip. He'll have to quit the game because all his weight displacement. It's to the right, but you just immediately said to the left. Well, so you got your billion, so you're ready to spread it around, I guess, at this point, huh?
I'm giving away.
There you go. Attaboy.
Investment.
All right. It's funny the way that happens, though. Is it guilt, do you think, or something?
No.
It's not self-loathing? It's nothing like... Do you feel like you came about it in an unfair way?
No,
or something?
not at all. Not at all.
You've always been left.
It's privilege.
You've always been left.
I grew up as a middle-class kid. My dad was an Army officer.
Me too.
I was a Catholic. They said,
Me too. My dad never made more than 30 grand a year.
Help out your fellow citizen, and so you're trying to help out your fellow citizen.
But you don't want to do things where the end result is not helping them out, right?
Not at all.
Okay. As long as we're headed the same place, you need to connect the dots.
100%.
You think a lot of left-wing policies end up helping the people designed to help?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I think there's big government comes with a ton of trouble, and I've never been an advocate of big government. I think we need more redistribution. Like, we have a world where, you know,
redistribution of opportunity, how about?
I'd love redistribution of opportunity.
Me too.
But I think you also need redistribution of wealth. And there's lots of different ways you can do that. And part of government's role has always been to redistribute.
What's been the best way you've heard so far of all the different candidates that have come up with lots of different ideas?
You know, I think a Wall Street tax is probably an interesting one. You know, some version of the Tobin tax. And that's controversial, especially on Wall Street, because I've made a lot of career. But I do think it's, you know, you look at the pull of the talent to this place, and you make spreads a little wider, and maybe the 300 PhDs at Renaissance end up using their talents to do something else, or at least aren't making, you know, as much money as they are every year.
So you would have effectively a transaction tax.
I'd have a transaction tax.
Would you have a transaction tax, by the way, on crypto?
Sure.
And then you spend it on, and then how would you fix things with the money you raised?
You know, it's interesting. When I grew up, state college was very affordable. It's not affordable anymore for most Americans. I mean, you can start there. Like, fairness was always important to me, partly because I grew up middle class and I thought it was unfair other people had an advantage. And so education is at least one place we should provide equal opportunity.
That's easier said than done,
We just don't. I agree.
We've got to figure out how to improve it, because we throw a lot of money at it already.
If we can launch those 40 satellites into space and not have one break, I mean, you know, first shot, like, we should be able to figure this stuff out. We just haven't.